we've got this cryptocurrency shyster, Sam Bankman-Fried. I've got to say, I hadn't heard of this guy until this week, but he seemed to fool so many people. He was leading the second largest crypto exchange in the world, FTX. Company is now filed for bankruptcy in the US, and the founder, Bankman-Fried, it's been revealed he secretly transferred $10 billion of customer funds from FTX to his own trading company. A large portion of that total has since disappeared, according to Reuters. It's outrageous stuff, Douglas, but this activist was celebrated by the media and the business community and became the Democrats' second biggest donor.
And he is funding everything you can think of. Global warming.
It's one of the biggest problems that we have to tackle together as a world.
COVID-19 preparedness.
We have to be ready for the next pandemic.
Neglected tropical diseases.
More than 1 billion people suffer from them. We have to eliminate these diseases.
And of course, animal welfare.
Animals deserve to live just like we do. It's also why I'm vegan.
Douglas, how did this character fool so many supposedly smart people?
You know, Rita, it's so similar to so many stories you and I have discussed in the past, which is you can get away with anything in this era if you just cover it in this veneer of environmentalism, sustainability, equity, anti-racism, and a bunch of other stuff. And if you do all of that stuff, if you just coat yourself in the new religion, you can get away with fraudulent behavior of the most obvious kind, hucksterish behavior of the most obvious kind. That's how these guys have got away with it, because they realized what a lot of shysters have effectively realized, which is, you know, if you talk the language of ESG and you talk about sustainability and all that sort of thing, then in the new era, it's effectively like putting on a monk's robe would have been in centuries past. People think, oh, this must be an honest and decent person. They seem to care about polar bears and more. And so once you've done that, you can get away with anything. And frankly, you know, all of history is filled with characters like this. It's just that in our era, there is this new religion which the most obvious con artists have cottoned on to. Cover yourself in that religion and you can do effectively what you like.
You're so right, because this company's ESG ratings were quite high, much higher than legitimate companies that don't steal money from their customers. Now, I want to ask you about the midterms. Republicans are edging closer to getting a majority in the House. They're on 1,212 seats compared to the Democrats on 204. They need 218 for a majority. The Dems look like they're going to hold on to the Senate. Well, I think they will hold on to the Senate. They've got the Georgia runoff to come. You've written about the midterms and what comes next. Explain to me your theory on why the Republicans underperforming at these elections is not disastrous for them in the medium to long term.
Well, you know, it's very interesting, Rita. Basically, everybody was predicting a red wave earlier this year. I would say they were predicting it until the moment that the Supreme Court leak on Roe v. Wade came out, because that was the first thing that the Democrats had to run on. You see, what were the Democrats going to run on in the midterm elections? Were they going to run on the brilliance of Joe Biden and his fiscal record? Were they going to run on the eloquence of Kamala Harris? Or what were they going to run on? What they had when the Roe v. Wade Supreme Court leak came was the best thing they could possibly have, which is, look at these Republicans. They're going to take away your rights. It's not just that they're returning these rights to the states, which is a legal technicality in America. It's not just that the Republicans, the big, bad, evil Republicans, are here to take away all of your rights, women's rights, gay rights, rights of everyone of color, and so on. So they managed to galvanize their base. The Republicans, by contrast, have had a tough time. They've had a tough time for a lot of reasons, but one of them has been, of course, the ongoing psychodrama of the will he, won't he race vis-a-vis Trump. Now, my own view is that the red wave, if it had come, would have meant that Trump would have claimed responsibility and all credit for the wave. It would have been undue, but he would have claimed all credit for it. And then he'd have run, and then the Republican Party would have been put through the Trump psychodrama for another couple of years at least. This way, the red trickle, which is what people are calling the midterm elections, I think actually is good for the Republican Party. Because I've said to you before, Rita, if the Republican Party can move to the post-Trump era, effectively say thank you for your service, but too divisive a figure to bring over the undecideds in 2024. We need somebody who's got a proven track record, like Governor Ron DeSantis in Florida, whose vote share went up again. And effectively, if in that situation, if Trump could step out of the way, the Republicans have this terrific bench. And the Democrats, by contrast, Rita, as you and I both know, do not. Underneath Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, just a void of talent in the Democrat Party, whereas the Republicans, after Trump, it really is a very talented bench they have. And I think that this is no bad thing, this midterm results for Republicans. I think it means they can get their party in order, they can sort out the Trump issue, and they can move ahead and look towards victory in 2024.
And DeSantis is a figure that a lot of the Trump voters, I would say the overwhelming majority of the Trump supporters, absolutely adore, because he is, like Donald Trump in so many of his policy positions, he's just a little bit more effective in executing, and he's a much better politician as well, it must be said. So it's not like you're going from Trump to some Republican in name only Mitt Romney type. You're going to someone who the left call Trump's apprentice. He is seen by many of his opponents as Trump Mark II. Now, Douglas, you've written a fantastic piece in the UK Telegraph today about Britain's finally waking up to the scandal of illegal immigration. There's polling out showing that people want your politicians to finally take back control of your borders. Tell me about this.
Well, Rita, Australia, 10 years ago dealt with the problem of illegal migration. And Britain in recent years has faced a similar problem of illegal boats heading towards our shores, with people with no right to be in the country, breaking the law by trying to come into the country. And Britain has sort of accepted it. The government, the Conservative government, you must remember, has accepted it. In 2018, the then Home Secretary declared a national emergency over 200 people coming illegally over the Channel. Today, 200 people come over every few hours across the Channel, and the government has been absolutely stymied as to what to do about it. As a result, the British people are back onto the immigration question. There's no doubt about that. Around 16 to 17% of people in a recent poll said they would vote for a Nigel Farage-led party that specifically campaigned on the immigration question to try to make the Conservatives move on the issue. But there is just this extraordinary inertia, Rita. You've seen it in Australia. We've seen it in Europe, and now we're seeing it in Britain. This challenge in the 21st century is not going to go away. People have the ability to move and the desire to move more than ever before in human history. The question for developed countries is, do we keep our borders or not? And if you decide not to...
Douglas, you are absolutely right. And we will talk about this again, I'm sure, because there's an issue that Britain's going to grapple with. Because unless a Nigel Farage figure comes along and changes the mindset there, it seems both Labor and the Tories are quite comfortable with what's happening. Douglas Murray, thank you again for your time this evening.